The year is 1914. It is late on Christmas Eve, deep within the scarred landscapes of the Western Front, for what feels like an eternity. The world has been a cacophony of destruction, a relentless symphony of artillery fire that rips the sky apart, punctuated by the mechanical, heartless chatter of machine guns. The very air has grown heavy, thick with the smell of cordite and damp earth. But now, a profound and unnerving silence descends upon the battlefield. The ceaseless pounding has finally stopped. All that remains is the biting wind as it whistles a mournful tune through the tangled nests of barbed wire, and the sharp, brittle crunch of boots on mud that has been frozen solid by the unforgiving cold. In this vast, expectant quiet, the war holds its breath, and for a moment, the land itself seems to be listening. This fragile peace, this impossible quiet, was not a command handed down from the lofty heights of the general staff. It was not a strategic pause or a calculated maneuver orchestrated by military planners in distant, comfortable headquarters. Instead, it was an act of quiet, almost surreal defiance, born in the very heart of a conflict. The truce began with a strange and beautiful gesture. German soldiers, defying all logic of warfare, began to place small Christmas trees along the parapets of their trenches. These were not grand, festive pines, but modest firs, their branches adorned with the soft, flickering light of candles. Each tiny flame was a beacon in the oppressive darkness, a fragile point of light that should have been an irresistible target for an enemy sniper. They were invitations to be shot, yet the rifles on the other side remained silent. The expected crack of a bullet never came. In that moment of shared restraint, something shifted in the cold Flanders air. The battlefield, for a few precious hours, ceased to be a place of death and became a space of quiet wonder. The visual record of this event feels like a dream captured on film. In our mind's eye, we see the sepia-toned photographs that have survived the century, each one a testament to a moment of grace. They show men who, just hours before, were locked in a mortal struggle, now standing together in the desolate expanse of no man's land. Their uniforms are different, the spiked pickelhaube of the Germans next to the flat caps of the British Tommies, but their expressions are startlingly similar. There are smiles, handshakes, and shared glances of mutual understanding. Frost delicately covers the jagged lips of shell craters, turning a landscape of violence into something strangely beautiful, almost crystalline. A ghostly mist rises from the frozen fields of Flanders, shrouding the soldiers in a soft, ethereal light, as if they are ghosts from a future war, visiting a past where peace was still possible. They are not soldiers in these images. They are simply men, gathered in a place where no man was supposed to survive, sharing a moment of impossible camaraderie. From the German trenches, a sound began to drift across the frozen, pockmarked ground. It was not the bark of a command or the scream of a bayonet charge. It was a song, a lone voice, clear and steady, singing Still Nohet, Silent Night. The melody, so familiar and yet so utterly alien in this context, hung in the air, a thread of pure, unadulterated humanity. Across the divide, in the British lines, there was a moment of stunned silence, a collective intake of breath. Then, another voice joined in, not in German, but in English, answering with the first Noel. Soon a chorus of carols swelled from both sides, weaving together in the cold night air. This shared music was a bridge. Emboldened by this newfound harmony, men began to climb cautiously out of their trenches. They emerged not with rifles raised to kill, but with hands outstretched, offering cigarettes, buttons from their tunics, and rations of plum pudding. In one sector, a football was produced from somewhere, and an impromptu match began, the shell-holed earth serving as a makeshift pitch. They were no longer enemies. They were simply young men, far from home, united by a shared desire for a moment of peace on Christmas Day. This spontaneous eruption of humanity sent waves of terror through the high command on both sides. The generals and politicians who orchestrated the war from a safe distance were horrified by the idea that their soldiers might see the enemy as fellow human beings. This was not a war of individuals. It was a war of nations, of ideologies, of abstract hatreds that could not be sustained by handshakes and shared songs. An army that fraternizes is an army that will not fight. They saw this truce not as a moment of hope, but as a dangerous breakdown in discipline, a contagion of peace that had to be stamped out at all costs. In the years that followed, they took brutal measures to ensure such a thing could never happen again. Official orders were issued explicitly forbidding any friendly contact with the enemy. On Christmas Eve of 1915, 1916, and 1917, artillery batteries were commanded to unleash relentless bombardments, their sole purpose being to drown out any potential carols and extinguish any nascent hope of another truce. The war machine, once it had tasted blood, would not allow itself to be stopped by something as simple and profound as a Christmas song. And so, the Christmas Truce of 1914 remains a ghost story of peace, a fragile, fleeting moment that haunts the long and bloody history of human conflict. It serves as a powerful reminder of how thin the veil is between enemy and friend, how quickly the carefully constructed labels of war can dissolve when faced with a shared, fundamental humanity. For a few short hours, the abstract concept of the enemy was stripped away, revealing just another man shivering in the same cold, feeling the same ache of longing for home, and dreaming of the same simple peace. It is a testament to the fact that even in the deepest, darkest nightmare of war, the human spirit can, if only for a moment, find a way to sing in the darkness, proving that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the stubborn, resilient presence of our shared humanity.